The stars of the Orion Dominion stretched like bright rivers across the dark sky. A massive royal ship glided among them, its silver wings spreading light through the void. Inside the ship, life was calm. But every soldier knew danger could come at any time. Commander Rian stood on the main deck, his eyes scanning the view of space beyond the glass panels. He was a human soldier from Earth, sent to protect the royal family of Lumeria during the peace talks between humans and the alien empire. His duty was clear. The princess must be safe at all times. Rian was not tall or bulky, but there was strength in the way he moved. His uniform was plain gray, marked only by a small emblem of the human fleet. He had seen many battles, but this mission felt different. The Lemurians were an advanced and proud race. They had ruled this part of the galaxy for centuries. To them, humans were new and untested. When Rian entered the grand hall of the ship, he found Princess Alira standing near the observation window. Her silver hair caught the light from the stars, and her eyes were calm and curious. She turned when she heard his footsteps. "Commander Rian, is it true that humans used to travel through space without shields?" she asked with innocent wonder. "Yes, Your Highness," Rian replied. "Our ships were smaller and slower, but we kept moving forward, no matter how hard it was." Alira smiled. "That sounds brave." Rian did not reply, but her words stayed with him. He had been trained to keep distance from the ones he protected, yet this young princess reminded him of hope. She was kind to everyone, even to a human soldier she barely knew. The royal guards did not share her warmth. Many of them watched Rian with suspicion. To them, a human standing near the princess was strange. Some whispered that he did not belong among the royal defenders. Rian ignored their looks. He had faced worse than cold stares. As the ship neared the neutral zone, alarms suddenly echoed through the corridors. The calm atmosphere broke. The captain's voice came through the speakers, sharp and tense. Unidentified ships detected on the outer ring. Pirate signatures confirmed. All units to battle positions. Rian moved quickly. His instincts took over. He ran toward the command deck, giving orders to his team of guards. "Protect the princess. Move her to the safe chamber." The ship shook as plasma fire struck its hull. Lights flickered across the hallways. Rian heard the distant roar of explosions. The pirates from the Void Syndicate were ruthless. They hunted royal ships for ransom or power. Their black vessels surrounded the royal cruiser like predators circling prey. Inside the secure chamber, Princess Alira tried to stay calm. "Will we be safe here?" she asked. Rian looked at the sealed doors. "As long as I breathe, yes." Another explosion hit. The ship's lights dimmed. A guard rushed in, panic in his voice. "Commander, the pirates have breached the lower decks. They are cutting through the shields." Rian nodded. "Seal this section. I will handle the breach." The princess grabbed his arm. "Commander, you cannot face them alone." He gave a small smile. "It is my duty, Your Highness. You must survive. The peace depends on it." Before she could speak again, he was gone. The lower decks were filled with smoke and fire. Broken panels sparked around him. Rian drew his plasma rifle and moved through the wreckage. He found the first wave of pirates pushing forward. Their armor was dark, their weapons glowing with red light. He aimed and fired. The first pirate fell. Another came from the side. Rian blocked the attack with his arm shield and countered with a sharp strike. He moved like a storm through the enemy line. But there were too many. He activated his comlink. "Control. The breach is heavy. I need reinforcements." The voice that came back was filled with static. "We are losing power. Shields at 20%. Rian clenched his jaw. He knew what that meant. If the shields failed, the ship would be open to space. He moved deeper, taking position near the reactor corridor. The pirates were trying to reach the energy core. If they damaged it, everyone on the ship would die. Rian took cover behind a fallen beam. He breathed slowly and waited. When the next group of pirates entered, he threw a shock grenade. Blue light filled the hallway, throwing them off balance. He stepped out and fired again, hitting their leader in the chest. More enemies came. He was running out of energy cells. The air smelled of burnt metal and smoke. His armor was damaged, but he kept fighting. "Rian, where are you?" came the princess's voice through his earpiece. "I am holding the corridor," he answered. "Stay in the chamber. The guards say the pirates are cutting through. Please, fall back." "I cannot," he said. "If they reach the core, no one will survive." It was silence for a moment. Then she said softly, "Be safe, Commander." Rian fought harder. His rifle overheated, so he used his blade instead. He blocked, struck, and pushed forward. For every enemy he defeated, 2 more took their place. The ship's systems were failing. Warning lights flashed red. He could hear the sound of air rushing from broken vents. Somewhere above, a plasma beam tore through the outer hull. The floor trembled under his feet. A pirate commander stepped forward, taller and stronger than the rest. His voice was deep and cruel. "Human, your kind should not stand against us. Surrender, and I may spare you." Rian raised his blade. "You will never reach the princess." The pirate laughed. "Then you die here." It clashed in a blur of steel and fire. The pirate's blows were heavy, but Rian was faster. He dodged, countered, and finally struck the enemy's chest plate, cutting through the armor. The pirate fell with a roar, dropping his weapon. But in that moment, a blast from a nearby reactor line hit the corridor. The explosion threw Rian across the room. His armor alarms screamed in his ear. He looked up to see the walls cracking, the vacuum of space pulling everything outward. He grabbed the emergency control panel and sealed the bulkhead doors, stopping the air loss. His vision blurred. His arm was bleeding, and his oxygen was low. Then he saw the pirates trying to reroute power from the reactor. If they succeeded, the ship would be torn apart. He crawled toward the panel and began overriding the system. He knew what he was doing could destroy him. Through the the princess's voice came again, full of fear. "Commander, what is happening?" Rian answered calmly, "The reactor is unstable. I am stopping it. Tell your mother the peace will live." "No, you cannot," she cried. "You will not survive that." He smiled weakly. "Some things are worth dying for." The control system glowed red. Rian pressed the final command. The reactor core stabilized, but the blast sent another shockwave through the ship. The deck opened under him, and he fell toward the emergency airlock. He barely reached the lever in time. The airlock closed, sealing the reactor room. But the force of the explosion threw him out, through a breach in the outer hull. He saw the stars one last time. His body drifted into the void, the blue light of the royal ship fading behind him. Princess Alira stood at the observation window, tears in her eyes as she watched a single figure vanish into the darkness. The ship's systems returned to normal. The pirates were defeated, their fleet destroyed by royal reinforcements. The captain announced that the threat was gone, but the cost was heavy. News of Rian's sacrifice spread through the galaxy. To humans, he became a symbol of courage. To the Lemurians, he became a legend, the human who gave his life to protect the future of 2 worlds, and far away, drifting among the stars. Rian's armor lights still blinked faintly, as if refusing to go dark. The cold wind of the barren moon Zenthus moved through the broken metal fields. The surface was filled with the remains of old wars, crashed ships, and forgotten machines. It was a place where no one lived. Yet one morning, a group of Lemurian researchers landed there to study lost technology. Their scanners showed something unusual under the dust. A weak life signal mixed with old human energy codes. The leader of the team, a scientist named Dr. Naren, walked toward the signal and found a half-buried armor suit, scorched and silent. Its chest still blinked with a dim blue light. "Careful," said Naren, as his assistants began removing the layers of metal and dust. "This armor is not from our world. It is human-made." When they opened the helmet, they froze. Inside was a man, pale and still breathing. His heartbeat was slow but steady. "It cannot be," whispered one of the scientists. "He has been here for months." No one could live that long in open space. Dr. Naran looked closer. "Unless the suit repaired him. Bring him to the ship." They placed the body inside a med pod and lifted off from the moon. The ship returned to the Lumerian capital, carrying the man who should have been dead. Days passed before he opened his eyes. His vision was blurred, and the light hurt him. Machines hummed softly around his bed. A gentle female voice spoke near him. "You are safe. You are among friends." Rian slowly turned his head. He saw Dr. Naren standing beside a Lumerian medic. "You are aboard a research vessel," said the doctor. "You were found on Zenthus. Can you remember your name?" Rian tried to speak, but his throat was dry. "Rian," he managed to say. The doctor nodded. "Commander Rian, the human protector who fell during the attack on the royal ship." "The galaxy believed you were gone?" Rian blinked, confused. He tried to sit up, but pain shot through his chest. His armor had merged with his body in places where the nanotech had rebuilt him. The doctor showed him the scans. "The suit's systems repaired your organs and restored your cells. You are alive because of Lumerian technology." Rian looked at the ceiling, trying to remember. He saw flashes of fire, the princess's face, the stars pulling him into the void. He remembered sealing the reactor and the pain that followed. Everything after that was darkness. When he finally spoke again, his voice was quiet. "What happened to the princess?" Dr. Naren smiled. "She lived. She returned safely to Lumeria. The pirates were destroyed. Your name became a story of bravery among both humans and Lemurians." Rian felt relief wash over him. He closed his eyes and whispered, "Good." The doctor informed the royal court that the human protector had survived. Within days, a message came from the palace itself. It carried the seal of Queen Aranel, ruler of Lumeria. She ordered that Rian be brought before her at once. The researchers prepared him for the journey. His strength returned slowly. His body was still weak, but his spirit was firm. When the day came, he stood on the deck of the royal shuttle as it approached the golden towers of Lumeria's capital city. The city was breathtaking. Towers rose like crystals above floating gardens. Airships moved across bright skies, and silver bridges connected the royal halls. Rian had seen many worlds, but nothing compared to this. Guards led him through the great palace, their armor shining in the sun. They looked at him with curiosity and respect. The story of his sacrifice had spread everywhere. Some whispered as he passed, calling him the Ghost Soldier. At last he entered the royal chamber. The hall was filled with blue light from tall windows that reached to the ceiling. At the center stood the throne of the Lumerian queen. Queen Aranel was unlike anyone Rian had ever seen. Her presence filled the room with quiet strength. She wore a long silver gown, her crown small but elegant. Her eyes held wisdom and sorrow together. When she looked at him, it was as if she could see beyond the armor and the scars. Rian knelt before her. "Your Majesty," the queen spoke in a calm voice. "Rise, Commander Rian. You do not kneel before me. You have already earned the respect of my house." He stood slowly. "I am honored, my queen." She walked closer, studying him with gentle curiosity. "You gave your life for my daughter. You faced death without fear. And yet, you live again. Tell me, what drives a human to such courage?" Rian hesitated. "Duty, majesty. A protector does not think of himself, only of the one he must guard." The queen's expression softened. "And yet, few would do what you did. My daughter owes her life to you. My people owe you peace. Humanity has gained much honor because of your actions." Rian bowed his head. "I only did what was right." Aranel turned to her advisors. "Leave us." The hall emptied until only the two remained. The queen walked to the window and looked out over the shining city. "My people speak of you as a legend. They say you returned from death itself. Tell me, do you remember what happened after the explosion?" Rian shook his head. "I remember the stars. Then nothing." She nodded slowly. "Perhaps that is mercy. The void is not kind to those who fall into it." He waited in silence, unsure why she had called him here. After a long pause, she turned back to him. Her eyes were firm but kind. "You are not only a soldier now, Rian of Earth. From this day forward, you serve under my command. You will be my protector, as you once protected my daughter." The palace will be your home. Rian blinked in surprise. Your Majesty, I am only a soldier. There are others more skilled. The queen smiled faintly. Perhaps, but none have your heart. I trust no one else with my safety. He bowed deeply. Then I accept, my queen. Later that day he was shown to his new quarters near the royal wing. They were far grander than anything he had known. Still, he kept his habits simple. He cleaned his armor, checked his weapons, and stood by the balcony, watching the sunset over Lumeria. The sky changed from gold to violet, and for the first time since his fall, felt peace. That night he met Princess Alira again. She entered his chamber quietly, her face bright with joy. Commander, it is really you, she said. They told me you were gone forever. Rian smiled. It seems the stars were not ready for me yet. She laughed lightly. Mother told me she has made you her protector. You will not be far from us now. I am grateful for her trust, Rian said. The princess stepped closer. You changed everything, Rian. Because of you, our people and yours now share peace. The humans are no longer seen as weak. They are seen as strong and loyal. He nodded, touched by her words. That is good. We have much to learn from each other. When she left, Rian felt a quiet pride inside him. He had done his duty, but something greater had come from it. In the following days, Rian began his new life at the palace. He learned the customs of the Lemurians, their honor codes, and their ways of command. The queen often asked for his counsel during meetings. His direct and honest manner surprised many advisors. Yet the queen seemed to value it most. Once during a council debate, a noble questioned the queen's trust in a human guard. He may be brave, the noble said, but can we place the fate of our queen in alien hands? Rian stood silent, but Queen Arenal's voice cut through the hall. This human faced death for my child. When others hid, he fought. If trust is earned by courage, then none in this room deserve it more than he does. The nobles bowed their heads. From that day on, no one doubted her decision again. As time passed, Rian and the queen began to share quiet moments between duties. They spoke of their worlds, of wars, of peace, and of loss. She told him about her late husband, a king who had fallen in a border war. He told her about Earth's long struggle to reach the stars. One evening, as they stood on the high balcony overlooking the glowing city, she said softly, You remind me of him. He, too, believed that peace must be earned through sacrifice. Rian looked at her, unsure how to respond. Then I hope I can honor that belief, Majesty. She turned to him, her eyes warm yet distant. You already have. From that night on, their bond began to grow quietly. The queen trusted him not just as a protector, but as a voice of reason and courage in a court full of pride. Rian, once just a soldier from a small blue planet, now stood beside the most powerful ruler in the Orion Dominion. He had come from the ashes of war and the silence of the void, and now he lived again, carrying the strength of humanity into the heart of a new world. Morning light poured through the high windows of the royal palace. The sky above Lumeria glowed with soft silver clouds that drifted across the twin suns. From the balcony of the western tower, Commander Rian watched the guards change formation below. He had grown used to the rhythm of palace life, yet every day felt new. It had been 3 months since he became the queen's protector. The people now called him the Shield of Arenal. Many in the court respected him, though some still whispered that a human did not belong near the throne. Rian ignored the talk. His purpose was clear. He served the queen and kept her safe. That morning, Queen Arenal prepared to attend a council meeting. Rian walked beside her as she moved through the golden corridors. Her long silver gown shimmered with faint light, and her crown glowed softly against her dark hair. She walked with quiet strength. Commander, she said as they entered the council hall, today's meeting will test patience. Some nobles resist the alliance with humanity. Stay close. I will, Majesty, Rian replied. Inside, the great round hall was filled with noble lords and high officials. Maps of the Orion Dominion floated above the table in blue light. The queen took her seat at the center, while Rian stood a few steps behind her chair. Silent and watchful, The council began with reports about trade and border defense. At first, the discussion was calm. But soon, a tall noble named Lord Varen rose and spoke with a cold tone. "My queen, I question this trust placed in humans," Varen said. "They are newcomers to our stars. Their ways are simple, and their loyalty untested. Yet one stands at your side as if he were one of us." Rian did not move. The room grew quiet. Queen Arenal's voice was firm. "Lord Varen, Commander Rian, earned his place with courage that few in this hall could match. He gave his life for my daughter and defended our people when others would have fled." Varen bowed slightly but did not hide his displeasure. "Bravery is admirable, Majesty, but emotions can cloud judgment. We must remember who truly belongs to Lemuria." Arenal's eyes sharpened. Courage and honor belong to no single world. They are the heart of peace. Humanity stands with us now, and as long as I rule, they will remain our allies. The room fell silent again. Rian could feel the tension, but kept his expression calm. He had learned that silence carried power when used with discipline. After the meeting, Arenal dismissed the council. When they stepped into the corridor, she sighed softly. "Some hearts change slowly, Commander. Respect is earned with time," Rian said. "They will see your vision, Majesty." The Queen smiled slightly. "You speak like a leader." "I speak like a soldier who has seen what fear does," he replied. That evening, the palace glowed under the twin moons. Rian walked the outer gardens where light trees shimmered with blue leaves. He liked this place. It was peaceful and open. Unlike the crowded cities of Earth, Princess Alira joined him, her silver gown brushing softly against the marble path. "You stand guard even when the Queen rests," she said with a small smile. "It is a habit I cannot break," Rian answered. "You are too serious," she said gently. "But I am glad you are here. The palace feels safer with you." Before Rian could reply, a sudden noise broke the calm. The garden lights flickered. A faint sound came from the far wall. Rian's instincts sharpened. He stepped in front of the princess from the shadows. Two figures in dark cloaks jumped over the wall. Their movements were fast and trained. Rian drew his plasma blade in one motion. The first attacker rushed toward him, but Rian blocked the strike and countered. The second aimed a small blaster at the princess, but Rian pushed her aside and fired. The shot hit the attacker's arm. Guards arrived seconds later, surrounding the intruders. When the hoods were pulled back, Rian saw that they were not common thieves. They wore the marks of the Void Syndicate. "Alive," Rian ordered. "We need answers." The attackers were taken to the palace cells. That night, the Queen held a private meeting with Rian and her chief advisor. "The Syndicate was destroyed years ago," she said. "How did their killers reach our walls?" Rian stood at attention. "They must have help inside the palace. Someone is feeding them information." The Queen nodded. "Then we will find that traitor. From this moment, you have full command of palace security. You answer only to me." Rian accepted the order. Over the next days, he led silent investigations through the palace corridors. He questioned guards, studied patrol logs, and checked communication records. Slowly, a pattern appeared. Messages were being sent from the royal library to an unknown location outside the city. One night, Rian followed the signal himself. He moved through the empty halls, silent as a shadow. Inside the library, he found Lord Varen standing before a Holly terminal, speaking to a hidden receiver. Rian stepped forward. "Your conversation ends now." Varen turned sharply. "You dare spy on a member of the council?" "I follow the Queen's command," Rian said calmly. "You are passing military data to the Syndicate." Varen's eyes narrowed. "You think a human has the right to accuse me?" Before Rian could respond, Varen drew a small energy blade and attacked. The two men fought between the tall books and glowing data shelves. Sparks flew as blades clashed. Varen was fast, but Rian's reflexes were sharper. With one final strike, Rian disarmed him and pressed the blade to his chest. "You have betrayed your queen," Rian said. Guards arrived as Varen fell to his knees. When they took him away, he glared at Rian. "You will never belong here, human." "The old blood will rise again." Rian said nothing. The next morning, The court was filled with shock. The queen ordered Varen's exile to the far colonies. She thanked Rian before the whole council. "Once again, you have saved not only my life, but the heart of our world," she said. The hall filled with applause. The same nobles who once doubted him now bowed their heads with respect. The legend of the human protector grew stronger. That evening, Rian stood on the palace balcony. The city lights shone like a sea of stars. The queen joined him, wearing a simple robe instead of royal attire. For once, she looked less like a ruler and more like a woman who carried too many burdens. "You should rest, Majesty," Rian said. She shook her head gently. "I cannot. Every day brings new danger. I fear the peace we've built is more fragile than it seems." Rian looked at the stars. "Peace is always fragile, but that is why we guard it." The queen smiled faintly. "Your words remind me of something my husband once said. You have his spirit." Rian lowered his gaze. "I am honored." For a moment, silence filled the balcony. The sound of the wind moved through the garden below. The queen spoke again, her voice soft. "You have given my people safety and my court loyalty, yet you ask for nothing in return." "Why?" Rian answered simply. "Because I owe my life to Lumeria. When I was lost in the void, your people brought me back. Serving you is my way to repay that gift." She looked at him with thoughtful eyes. "Then know this, Commander. As long as I reign, you will never stand alone." The next weeks passed peacefully. Rian continued training the guards and strengthening the defense systems. The queen often asked for his opinion during her meetings, and even foreign ambassadors began to recognize his authority. Yet beneath the calm surface, Rian felt that danger still waited somewhere in the shadows. He noticed coded messages hidden within trade reports, strange ship movements near the border, and secret meetings among lesser nobles. The syndicate was not truly gone. One night, while studying the reports in his chamber, Rian received a coded message through his communicator. It came from an unknown source, marked only with a human signal. The voice spoke quietly. "Commander Rian, this is Captain Mira of the Earth Fleet. We have detected syndicate activity near the Lumerian capital. They are planning to strike again. Protect the queen." Before he could reply, the message ended. Rian stood at the window, watching the distant lights of the city. He knew the warning was real. The syndicate wanted revenge for their defeat. They would not stop until the queen was dead and peace between humans and Lumerians was broken. He placed his hand on the sword at his side. "Let them come," he whispered to himself. "They will learn again what it means to face humanity." That same night, the queen walked into the Hall of Stars, unaware that her enemies were already preparing their next move. And in the silence of the palace, the human who once fell into the void stood ready once more to defend the throne that had given him purpose. The sky of Lumeria burned red as the alarms rang across the capital. The stars that once shone calmly over the royal palace now flickered behind walls of smoke and fire. The syndicate had returned, this time not with small ships, but with full war fleets. They came to crush both humanity and the Lumerian Empire. Rian stood on the balcony of the command center, his armor shining faintly under the distant glow of explosions. He had been through many battles, but this was different. This was war on a scale that would decide the future of two civilizations. Behind him, Queen Aranel watched in silence. Her calm voice broke through the sound of distant cannons. "Commander Rian, how many fleets are ready for launch?" Rian checked the holographic display that floated above his wrist. 7 human cruisers and 10 Lumerian defense wings, Your Majesty. More are coming from Earth, but it will take days. We must hold until then. The Queen's eyes were steady. Then we will hold. You have my full command authority, Commander. Lead our people as you did before. Rian bowed and turned to leave, but Aranel spoke again, her voice soft. Rian, promise me one thing. No matter what happens, do not face them alone again. He gave a small smile. I will do my best, Your Majesty. Outside the command center, soldiers hurried through corridors carrying plasma rifles and data tablets. Humans and Lumerians worked side by side, their differences forgotten in the face of danger. The sight filled Rian with pride. Once humans were strangers in this part of the galaxy. Now, they stood as equals, fighting for the same hope. The first wave hit the outer defense ring. The Syndicate's black ships glided like shadows through space, firing heavy plasma beams that tore through the shields. Rian stepped onto the deck of the command cruiser, Alliant, and opened the communication link. This is Commander Rian. All fleets follow my signal. Form defensive pattern Orion Shield. Focus fire on the lead dreadnought. The fleet moved in perfect formation. Human ships used their fast engines to dodge attacks while Lumerian ships provided heavy firepower. The space around them turned into a storm of light as thousands of weapons fired. Rian stood at the command deck, his eyes scanning every detail of the battle. The Queen watched from the palace observatory, surrounded by advisors. The ground below trembled as Syndicate landing crafts broke through the atmosphere. The Queen's guards looked to her for orders, but she raised her hand. Do not fear. The humans stand with us. We will not fall today. Meanwhile, in orbit, Rian's ship shook under the impact of enemy fire. Sparks burst across the bridge as an officer shouted, "Shields down to 40%." Rian gritted his teeth. "Redirect power from engines to the forward shield. Tell the Lumerian wings to hit their left flank." The crew obeyed without hesitation. On the viewing screen, enemy ships began to explode one after another as combined firepower struck their weak points. For a moment, victory seemed possible. Then, a new signal appeared. A massive Syndicate flagship entered orbit, larger than anything they had faced before. Its energy readings were beyond known limits. Rian whispered to himself, "They brought their full command ship. They mean to finish this today." The ship fired a single beam that sliced through several Allied cruisers. The explosion lit up the sky of Lumeria. The communication lines filled with screams and static. Rian took a deep breath and spoke calmly. "All ships fall back to the secondary orbit. We cannot win by standing still. We fight smart, not desperate." On the surface, Queen Aranel moved to the underground command shelter. Princess Alira, now a grown woman and a skilled diplomat, refused to stay behind. "Mother, let me help. The people need hope." Aranel looked at her daughter with pride. "You have your father's courage and your protector's heart. Stay close to me." The palace shook again as Syndicate troops landed near the outer walls. Blaster fire echoed through the gardens. Rian received the signal and turned to his officers. "Prepare a ground drop. The Queen is in danger." Without hesitation, he and a team of soldiers entered the drop pods and launched toward the burning capital. The pods broke through the atmosphere like falling stars. When they hit the ground, Rian jumped out with his rifle ready. He led his team through smoke and debris toward the palace gates. The Syndicate soldiers were machines mixed with alien flesh, tall and armored in black metal. They advanced through the gardens, destroying everything in their path. Rian charged forward, firing precise shots that hit their weak spots. His human reflexes and training made him faster than they expected. The battle in the gardens was fierce. But Rian's team pushed through. Inside the palace, Queen Aranel heard the sounds of battle growing closer. She turned to her guards. "Hold your ground. Help is coming." Moments later, the doors burst open and Rian entered, covered in dust and smoke. He knelt briefly. "Your Majesty, we must move you to the underground chamber. The enemy is closing in." Enel nodded, but before they could move, a loud crash shook the hall. A Syndicate commander, larger than the rest, stepped through the broken wall. Its mechanical eyes glowed red. "You are the Queen. You will come with me. The war ends today." Rian stepped between them. "Not while I breathe." The creature swung its heavy weapon, but Rian blocked it with his energy blade. Sparks flew as metal struck metal. The Queen watched as the two fought fiercely across the hall. Rian's strength began to fade, but his determination never broke. With a final strike, Rian drove his blade into the commander's core, and the creature fell. The room filled with silence, except for the sound of burning walls. Aranel moved toward him. "Rian, are you hurt only scratches, Your Majesty? But the enemy will send more. You must leave now." As they moved toward the escape chamber, Alira appeared with several guards. "The enemy is retreating from the eastern side," she said breathlessly. "Our ships have returned." The humans brought reinforcements from Mars Station. Rian looked to the sky through the shattered roof. The dark clouds of smoke were now mixed with streaks of light from the arriving human fleet. They had come to turn the tide. From orbit, new human ships rained fire on the Syndicate forces. The enemy's main flagship began to fall apart under the combined assault of humans and Lemurians. Rian's voice came through the radio, steady and proud. "This is Rian to all forces. Push forward. Do not give them an inch." Hours later, the battlefield grew quiet. The Syndicate ships were destroyed or fleeing into the outer systems. The war was not over yet, but Lemuria was safe for the moment. Queen Aranel stood on the palace balcony beside Rian. The smoke was clearing, and the first light of dawn touched the towers of the capital. Her voice was calm but heavy with emotion. "You have done more for this empire than anyone before you, Rian. Twice you have given your life to protect my family and my world. How can one repay such debt?" Rian shook his head. "There is no debt, Your Majesty. Humanity and Lemuria now stand as one. That is enough." She looked at him quietly. "Perhaps it is for you, but for me it is not." He turned to face her, uncertain of her meaning. Before he could speak, a messenger arrived with a report. "The Syndicate's last stronghold has fallen, Your Majesty. Victory is ours." The Queen gave a small nod. "Then let it be known that this victory belongs to all. The courage of one man showed us the strength of many." As the crowd below began to cheer, Rian felt the weight of exhaustion finally settle in. The Queen placed her hand lightly on his shoulder. "Rest, Commander. You have earned it." That night, Rian walked through the quiet halls of the palace. The golden lights reflected off the walls, now marked with the scars of war. He stopped by the window and looked at the stars. For the first time in years, he seemed peaceful. He thought about everything that had happened, the sacrifice, the battles, and the strange path that had brought him here. He was not just a soldier anymore. He had become a symbol of what humanity could be among the stars, in the Queen's private chamber. Aranel stood alone, looking out at the horizon. Her thoughts were heavy, but clear. The war had shown her the truth. Power alone could not protect her people. It was courage and loyalty that truly held an empire together. Tomorrow, she would make her decision known to all. The man who had once been a foreign protector would soon hold a place no one expected. As the sun rose over Lemuria, its light touched both human and Lemurian banners flying side by side. The people looked up with hope. The shadows had risen, but they had also fallen. And in their place stood unity, born from the courage of one man who refused to yield. The galaxy was changing, and humanity had proven that even in the darkest corners of space, their spirit could never be broken. The war had ended, and silence settled across the galaxy. The stars that once burned with the fire of battle now shone softly over a recovering world. Lemuria stood tall again, though its towers were marked by the scars of war. The people had begun to rebuild, and for the first time in decades, peace seemed real. Commander Rian walked through the palace courtyard. The air filled with the scent of new blossoms growing among the ruins. Workers moved calmly, repairing walls and planting trees. The war had changed everything. Humans and Lemurians now worked together, not as strangers, but as friends. Rian paused to look up at the sky. The fleet that had saved Lemuria now orbited peacefully above the planet. He could see the faint lines of the ships glimmering in the morning light. His heart felt lighter, though his mind carried the weight of many memories. He had fought to protect a princess, saved a queen, and led 2 species to victory. Yet he never thought of himself as a hero. To him, he had simply done what was right. As he walked toward the great hall, he noticed the guards standing taller than usual. The royal banners of gold and blue had been raised, and the air was filled with quiet excitement. Something important was about to happen. Inside the grand hall, Queen Aranel stood before a gathering of nobles, ambassadors, and soldiers from across the galaxy. Her silver robe shone softly under the light that streamed from the tall glass windows. Princess Alira stood beside her, calm and proud. Rian entered quietly, unsure why he had been summoned. The queen's gaze found him immediately. She smiled slightly, the kind of smile that carried both strength and warmth. "Commander Rian," she said, her voice steady and clear. "You have come just in time." He bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, I am at your service." The queen turned to the crowd. "Today we gather not for war, but for remembrance. The syndicate has fallen, and our worlds are safe again. Yet peace was not given to us freely. It was earned through courage and sacrifice." She paused, letting her words echo across the silent hall. "One man stood when others could not. One human crossed the stars, gave his life for my daughter, and returned from the darkness to fight for us all." All eyes turned to Rian. He shifted slightly, feeling uneasy under the attention. He had faced death without fear. But standing in front of 1,000 people made him feel strangely nervous. The queen continued. "He was not born of Lumeria, yet he became its greatest protector. Without him, neither my throne nor my people would stand today." She stepped down from the dais and walked toward him. The hall was silent except for the soft sound of her footsteps. When she reached him, she looked up into his eyes. "Rian of Earth, do you know what you have done for my world?" Rian shook his head gently. "I did only what I could, Your Majesty. The people, the soldiers, they are the ones who truly fought for this peace." Arenal smiled. "And yet they followed your lead. They saw what humanity truly is through you. Honor, loyalty, and courage. These are the traits that united us." She turned to the gathered crowd and raised her voice. "Let it be known across the stars that Commander Rian of Earth is no longer an outsider. From this day forward, he stands as one of us, a guardian of the royal house and a symbol of the bond between our species." Right. The hall erupted in applause. Some cheered his name, while others placed their hands over their hearts in the Lumerian salute. Rian stood frozen, unsure how to respond. He had not expected such honor. The queen raised her hand, and the crowd fell silent again. "But this is not all. Rian, you gave your life for my daughter, and again, you risked it for me. A debt such as that cannot be measured by title or medal. So, I make this decree. From this day onward, you are under my protection and my trust. You shall serve no house but mine. You are the queen's chosen." The hall filled with gasps. Even Alira's eyes widened with surprise. Rian looked at the queen, unsure what to say. "Your Majesty, I do not understand. I am a soldier. My duty is to serve where I am needed, not to stand beside royalty." Arenal's voice was calm, but firm. "You have already proven yourself beyond duty. This is not a gift, Rian. It is recognition of what already is. You have become part of this world, whether you wished it or not." Rian lowered his head. "Then I accept your decree, Your Majesty, and I will serve you as I have always done with honor." A faint smile touched her lips. "That is all I could ask." After the ceremony, the queen invited him to her private garden. The palace gardens had survived much of the war, and now glowed softly under the twin moons. They walked in silence for a while. Listening to the gentle sound of water flowing through the fountains, Arenal stopped near a tree that had been newly planted. "This tree is from your world," she said. "Your people sent it as a symbol of unity. They said it can grow even in harsh soil. I think that describes humanity very well." Rian smiled slightly. "It is a strong tree, Your Majesty. It survives because it learns to bend with the wind." The queen looked at him thoughtfully. "You remind me of it. You were thrown into a strange world, yet you never broke. You adapted, you endured, and you changed those around you." He looked out over the garden. "I could not have done it alone. The people here accepted me even when I was different. You gave me purpose when I thought I had none." Arenal nodded slowly. "Perhaps that is why fate brought you here? Not only to protect, but to teach. Your courage changed more than you know." They walked further until they reached the balcony that overlooked the city. The lights below shimmered like stars. Rian felt a quiet peace that he had not felt in years. Will there be more wars? He asked softly. There will always be those who seek power, Aranel said. But now we have something stronger than weapons. We have understanding. If we hold to that, we can face anything. Rian nodded. Then I will stay and help protect that peace. The queen looked at him, her eyes steady. And I will trust you to do so. Days turned into weeks as the rebuilding continued. Rian worked beside engineers, soldiers, and diplomats. He helped train a new generation of guards made of both humans and Lemurians. They called themselves the Star Alliance Guard. Under his leadership, discipline and trust grew strong. Princess Alira often visited the training grounds. She spoke with the soldiers and encouraged them. She had matured into a leader of her own, guided by both her mother's wisdom and Rian's example. One evening, as the sun set over the shining city, the queen called Rian to the throne room again. Only a few guards stood at attention. "Commander," she said softly, "I have received word that the Human Council wishes to make you an ambassador. They believe your presence will strengthen relations between our worlds." Rian hesitated. "An ambassador? I am not sure I am made for politics." Arnold smiled gently. "Neither was I once. Yet we learn. You have a voice that others listen to, not because of your rank, but because of your heart. If humanity is to walk among the stars, it will need people like you." He bowed his head. "If that is your wish, I will do it." "My wish," he said, "is that you continue to be who you are. A bridge between two worlds. A reminder that even across galaxies, there can be friendship and loyalty." That night, the queen held a grand celebration in the capital. The halls were filled with music and light. Delegations from every allied world came to honor the peace treaty. Rian stood beside the queen as the people cheered. Aranel raised her cup. "To unity," she declared. "To courage. To humanity and Lumeria, forever bound by honor." The hall echoed with cheers. For the first time, Rian smiled without restraint. He had seen death and loss, but now he saw hope. The galaxy that once seemed so cold now felt alive and full of promise. When the celebration ended, Rian walked to the balcony once more. The stars stretched endlessly above him. He thought of Earth, of the long road that had brought him here, and of all the lives that had been changed. Queen Aranel joined him quietly. "The stars look different now," she said softly. "They do," Rian replied. "They look closer." She turned to him. "Perhaps because we are no longer alone among them." Rian looked at her, then back at the sky. "Thank you, Your Majesty, for believing in me." Aranel smiled. "No, Rian, thank you for reminding us what it means to be human." And under the calm light of the twin moons, the queen and her protector stood side by side, not as ruler and soldier, but as two souls who had proven that even in the vast silence of space, courage and kindness could change the course of worlds. The story of Rian, the human who gave his life for the princess and earned the trust of a queen, became legend across the stars. It was told not as a tale of war, but as a story of unity. Because in the end, it was not power that defined humanity among the stars, it was heart.